Today, Caitlin and I are going to be talking about how to master handstand walking. We're going to be telling our personal stories on how we learned how to do it, how we coached our clients how to do it, the skills and progressions that are needed for this skill. If this is your first time joining us, I'm Matt Banwart. My wife, Caitlin, and I own Red Wolf CrossFit in Huntington Beach, California. And we started this podcast with one goal in mind, and that was to make fitness education accessible, engaging, and effective for everyone. Caitlin, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're back on it.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Yep.
Let's chat. Handstand walking. So how long did it take you to learn how to handstand walk in the first place?
It probably took me a consistent maybe like 4 to 6 months of working on it, at least almost every day, I would say. I decided to work on handstand walking specifically after it was in the open, and it was in the open the first time in 2018. And actually back in 2018, I was pregnant at the time, so I just watched the open happen that year, and I watched everyone do, it was heavy Diane, and it was 21-15-9, right? Deadlifts and handstand push-ups, but the twist on it was after you completed Diane, which we've all done many times, it went up in weight, and instead of handstand push-ups, it was handstand walking. And I remember everybody be like, oh, I got this. Like this is totally fine. We've done Diane, how many times, and now we're just gonna go. I can deadlift that weight. It was 205, and I was like, I can do that. And everybody kicked up that year and got nowhere. Like nobody could handstand walk very far. It was a really hard skill to implement into the CrossFit workout. And after that, and after my pregnancy, as I decided to really try to work on being inverted, being upside down, and working on it actually helped my handstand push-ups in general. And then eventually over time got better at handstand walking. And yeah, it's a really fun skill to learn, but it takes a lot of practice and a lot of different drills. And you just really have to get comfortable being upside down.
Yeah, I remember that workout. I remember specifically, loading up the weight and being like, the weight was pretty easy for me, but then the handstand walking was something that I've never really took time to develop. And the first time I had to handstand walk in competition was actually in the 2014 regionals, and I did terrible. It was bad. And so ever since then, yeah, but handstand walking is also one of those skills that kind of once you get it, you kind of keep it, because I haven't handstand walked in 2 years, and I got 35 feet unbroken the other day.
After some practice.
After a little bit of practice, but it came back in one day.
Yeah.
So it's one of those skills that once you get it, you can kind of keep it. I mean, granted, 35 feet isn't very good for me, but it's still really good for considering how long I have not done it.
Exactly.
And so with that, it's one of those things where there's a lot of upfront work that has to be done in order to attain the skill. But once you get it, that's when it gets a lot easier. And then, once you get it, it's like, well, can you implement this with a high heart rate in the middle of a CrossFit workout? So we're gonna be talking about all those different stages right now. So let's talk about the foundational skills for handstand walking. Let's go right into that.
Yeah, so the foundational skills, I remember back when I was really working on this, I follow, and I still follow to this day, her name's Pamela Gagnon. No, it's with a G.
Oh, it's with a G.
Yeah, Gagnon, I think is how you say it. On Instagram, fantastic Instagram page. If anybody needs, a gymnastics page to follow, she's one of the best ones, I think. And I have done every single drill she's ever produced on Instagram. I've tried it myself many, many times. And what's funny is that I'm always looking for like new drills, but in reality, the drills are always the same. And you just keep doing them over and over again. And she starts with just a lot of holds, a lot of upside down holds, and being able to hold for like 30 to 60 seconds inverted. That's where you need to start, not just 10 seconds. I think everybody thinks, well, I can hold myself upside down for a little bit. No, you need to hold yourself upside down for like a minute, because in reality, when you're doing this in a workout or when you're doing it for distance, you're going to be upside down for quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to breathe. You have to learn how to brace your core. The blood flows coming to your head. Like there's a lot of different variables there. And so the first step 1, get comfortable being upside down. And I started with that. That's pretty much how I did it.
Yeah. What a lot of people don't realize is that also when you're just doing like a really brief handstand hold against the wall or something, or even assisted, that you're not bearing all your weight either. So you need to have your stability in your shoulders and your core to be firing and for a long period of time. And what that's going to do is also going to give you the muscle endurance to be able to support yourself so you can do more drills.
Yes.
But yeah, like with almost any skill, it's always better to start with some sort of isometric or a hold in that position.
Yeah.
So that way you can actually feel what it's like to be to what muscles will be supporting you.
Yeah, because then, under fatigue, you can start to kind of feel what's going to give out first. Is it my shoulders, my traps, my triceps, my core? And when you're upside down for a really long time, you start to kind of understand balance and how to maintain that when you're overhead.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that people don't realize is that you use a lot of midline when you're upside down. I mean, imagine holding a barbell overhead for over a minute, and that's just 45 pounds. Now you're going to take your entire body weight and be inverted, and you're going to move with it. So you're going to be weight shifting as well. So you're going to go into one hand, and that requires a lot of core stability. And I did realize that when I did kick up, the first thing to go for me was my midline. As I got further down, because it's been a few years since I handstand walked, I was like, oh man, I feel this more in my midline than my shoulders. Like I could keep going, but I'm starting to lose my midline. That's when I started to fall.
Yeah. And so, like we were talking about isometric holds, I'm not just talking about being upside down all the time on your hands. I like that what you said is holding a barbell overhead. Like I would do isometric barbell holds overhead for, again, 30 to 60 seconds. Pair that with some wall walks or some like around the world on the box. And I would pair strength always with more holds in positions that I wanted to get better at. Yeah. And so doing stuff like that would be step one. And if you're not able to hold 30 to 60 seconds, I would advise you to backtrack on what you're doing. If you're a person who's just kicking up and you're not getting anywhere on handstands, you need to go backwards and start. Can you even do the foundations? Should you even be doing this in the first place?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people need to kind of backtrack. Whenever you get stuck on something, I would always advise you to go backwards, reestablish good foundations and then move forward again and see if you have progress.
100%. Have a good baseline of strength as well, because that's going to allow you to do the drills longer. That's what people don't realize is doing some of these boring basic strength drills will allow you to go longer with the more advanced and sexy stuff.
100%. We see that all the time when somebody asks to do skill work with us. And, okay, the session is 30 minutes long. And in reality, I can't really do very much with somebody who's too weak to be doing the drills in the first place. Like we would be better off just doing bodybuilding for a couple sessions to get some strength down and then do skill work after that because we really can't get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You have to have that foundation, the basic foundation first before you can start moving into those progressions. Now let's kind of go over like a step-by-step kind of tactical guide on these skills. So first off, you would build a strength base, right? Which is doing like, shoulder presses, overhead holds, single arm kettlebell overhead walks, even farmer walks.
Yeah, there's so many options.
Hollow body holds, Supermans, things like that, GHD sit-ups, GHD hip extensions. Then after that, what would be the next progression or the next skill that you would put someone on? Let's say they do have that foundation. What's the very first skill you would have them do?
Shoulder taps is usually kind of what I go to. I mean, you could incorporate wall walks as well, but that's basically kind of getting past the first thing is shoulder taps, I think, and not necessarily going inverted, being able to do plank shoulder taps and actual good ones where you're not, warm up style. Everybody's just shifting back and forth and there's no stability whatsoever. That's great and all, but if you're actually trying to get something out of it, we need like really solid reps. And again, 50 alternating shoulder taps. Like I think that's not an outrageous number to try to do. And once you can do that, then you try to do shoulder taps against the wall in like a wall walk position, 45-degree angle. See if you can do that with your feet elevated. If you can do that, okay, then let's move on to not wall facing, but flipping up the other way, kicking up into a handstand against a wall and seeing if you can do shoulder taps in that position. Because whenever I have somebody kick up onto the wall and I'm like, okay, pick up your hand. Some of them literally cannot pick up their hand at all. Like they're just like, no, like it's not happening. So what you'd have to do is go onto a box, right? Be in a pike position and get really, really solid at pike position shoulder taps instead. And if you can't do 50, then that's something to work on.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I do like the shoulder tap because it teaches weight shifting
Yeah.
and teaches you how to brace while you shift your weight as well.
Yeah, where to put
Um,
your head. Like a lot of people, they don't know where to tuck their chin or to look up. And so you have to be under tension for a long time so you can start to understand where do all these things need to be aligned.
yeah, and actually focus on feeling what you're actually working. You know, you have to have intent when you're doing these exercises. You can't just kind of freestyle it and expect to get anything out of it. You have to do everything with intention and be like, what am I feeling here? You know, am I bracing properly? Am I keeping my hips and shoulders square when I'm doing the shoulder taps on the ground? Am I, same thing with head positioning and everything. Am I stabilizing, or is my elbows locked out?
Yeah.
All those small things add up.
Yeah, and what's great is that there's so much variety when it comes to, for example, shoulder taps, right? Like we just listed 4 or 5 different variations that you could do. And what's great about this is that if this is a skill you want to master, you need to be doing something every single day to work on it. And again, there's variety, so you can even on a sore day, you could, scale down and do the box pike handstand shoulder taps like I talked about. And on a day that you feel a bit more fresh, you try a more advanced version of the shoulder tap, which might be against the wall or feet elevated in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really important also to remember that when you're doing like these drills that not every drill is built the same, and that there are certain drills that are better for where you're at on your progression. So that's why it's really important to work with a coach to determine if maybe your drill you're doing is too advanced, or maybe it's too novice for you. So that's why it's always good to get feedback from a coach.
Yes.
Let's go into actually the handstand hold itself. So after they do the shoulder taps, would you have them do holds, or would the holds come before?
No, I wouldn't even have them do holds yet. They're still not even capable of movement. I'm not.
But if they're able to do shoulder taps inverted, why can't they do holds?
Well, then they should start walking along the wall, I think, laterally.
So lateral wall.
Yeah, lateral.
Lateral.
Walking
Yeah,
or against the wall. So, just side to side, being able to move your body to the right, to the left. And I say that because when you kick up into a freestanding handstand, you're going to move all over the place, right? You're not going to stay, you're not just going to kick up and be right there. You're going to try to find balance. And that's not just forward and backwards or picking up your hand in place. You're going to go side to side. You're just going to be all over the place. So you need to get comfortable first with moving laterally. So you could do that against the wall, or you can do it on a box. And around the worlds is a super common handstand progression. And you literally walk around the box on your hands and your feet stay in the same spot.
And just so you guys have a visual on what she's talking about. So imagine you put elevate your feet on like a 24 or a 30-inch box. And then you're in a pike position with your butt in the air or your hips in the air.
Above your shoulders.
Exactly. And then you're as close to the box as possible with your hands, and you're literally just walking around the box.
Yep.
In a circle.
Exactly. And because you need to understand, like, when you're handstand walking, you have balance and your hands will go side to side. Now, they always need to be narrow though. When you're walking forward and backwards on a handstand walk, your hands are very narrow and right above your shoulders. It's not like a press position where your hands are outside your shoulders. A handstand push-up is also hands outside the shoulders. So you need to be more narrow than that, hands directly above your head. And you have to practice holding or returning back to that position even when you're walking side to side.
Mm-hmm. So once they have like walking laterally, both left and right against the wall, what's the next progression?
Then I would say handstand holds, like you were talking about. And so you can do freestanding handstand hold. If you're capable, maybe you put some mats down in case you fall, or you have a partner there to spot you. Against the wall is always fine. And when you do against the wall, you should do facing the wall and not facing the wall, different styles. And then you kind of play around with like one foot on the wall and the other one off, and you're trying to find where you can maintain balance. And what's important is when you're doing a handstand hold is that you're flexing your entire body. So I want you to imagine you're standing upright and you're doing a tippy toe, right? And when we do tippy toes, we flex our quads, we reach up to the ceiling really high, and that's essentially what you're doing in a handstand position. You need to be flexed in your entire body, super tight, straight up and down.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. I've done none of that. one of my favorite progressions, I think this is going to be the next one too, is where either you do the towel drill, or I also like the one where you put like a 45-pound plate down or a 25-pound plate, and then you walk up to the plate and you walk down from the plate.
Yes.
Kind of side to side. I'm staying in the same spot with and I'm still in like our traditional handstand push-up position with my feet against the wall, and then I just walk up and I walk down. That was one of my favorite drills. The towel drill is another good one. So the towel drill is when you are inverted in a handstand position against the wall, and then you have a towel, and then you just transfer the towel from hand to hand, and that helps with your weight shift as well. And that one was very difficult. And then there's also another one where it's kind of like a very similar version of the lateral handstand walking, where you have a dumbbell down and you walk over the dumbbell and then back over. So it's like 1, 2, and then 1, 2 back, 1, 2 over, 1, 2 back.
Yeah. I mean, and those drills are really good because it teaches you how to engage your traps and to actually push yourself up more. And what's needed when you handstand walk, and when you're trying to walk for speed too, and you start getting more advanced and you're like, okay, I'm going to go faster now. Well, that requires you to really push through your arms, activate your trap. And by doing the drills that Matt's talking about, it allows you to not just weight shift, but actually press through the floor, especially the plate one, because you have to go higher, right? You have to go 2 inches up. So you really have to push and extend your traps and your shoulders out and get higher and then come back down. And so that's a great drill. It's probably one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I love that one because just like you said, like it makes me actually press through it. Also because the elevation is higher, especially particular when you use a higher plate like a 45 versus a 25. Now it requires a lot more balance and stability and focus. So it really makes me focus on getting up there because the chances of me like tipping over or falling off the wall is very high.
Yeah, and it has to be a plate too, because remember that the hand placement is key. It has to be narrow. So plate is usually the exact width of the shoulders for most people, and so that's a really good object to use.
Okay, fantastic. And let's talk a little bit more balance and weight shifting. So let's say that they have completed all these so far, all these progressions going from the around the worlds to the lateral to the freestanding handstand hold to the walking up and down the plate or over a dumbbell or shifting a towel from side to side. Are there any other balance or weight shifting exercises that they can do that maybe are more advanced or more basic?
No, I would say from there, you need to start doing handstand holds freely, like not against a wall, but in the open. And when I started doing more handstand holds, I gave myself an area. I draw a box on the ground, and I would purposely try to stay within the box. And that really helped me tighten up and was able to like hold a handstand in place I can now hold it for 30 to 45 seconds, just like without moving. And I got to that point by just slowly condensing down the circle, right? So I make the circle really big when I first started, and I was all over the place, just kind of like trying to find balance. And then when I got better, I'd make the circle smaller and smaller to the point where like I wouldn't even move. I would just kick up and hold. So being able to hold the freestanding handstand and having that awareness, I'd have a buddy, like a spotter, if you're first starting out, to kind of like guide your legs and just kind of keep you there. Or you could always do it. I've seen it done with a band against the rig. Preferably for me, it's not a drill that I liked to do because I felt very unsafe kicking up into a band. I just thought, like, what if my legs get tangled? Or like there's just a lot of, risk with that one. So I don't really like to do that one. I just rather have a spotter with me instead. But the next drill that I have people do is walking towards the wall, right? So we start, okay, we can kick up and take one step, and then we back up a little bit and we kick up, and the wall's there as a spotter, right? It's as if I had a person in front of me, and I would kick up and try to take a couple steps, maybe 2 or 3 steps to the wall. And I would just slowly back myself up until I was taking maybe 4 to 5 steps towards the wall. And by then, you're able to pretty much probably kick up into the open and freely walk at least a few steps, hopefully by then. And that's kind of how I would progress myself off the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, I love that one. I forgot about some of those, especially walking to the wall.
Yeah.
That was good because it kind of gives you like a safety net, and I forgot that was one of the drills that I also really liked a lot because, I'm just kicking up almost to do a handstand push-up, but I'm only like an extra foot away from the wall. So if something does happen, worst case scenario, my feet bounce off the walls.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back down. So that really helped me get over the fear, especially because I was really scared to let my feet come over the back of my head, which is what was needed in order for me to keep going in the handstand walk, which we haven't even talked about yet. But But yeah, that was really what got me to actually getting some distance.
Yeah, I think one side note is you as a person, at least I've never really seen it. You will never get the handstand walk until you have your first fall. And you have to kind of learn how to fall first too. So when you start kicking up into the open, a lot of people get nowhere because they're so afraid of falling. They're so afraid of kicking up too far and tumbling, right? And so until you have that first fall and you realize like, oh, it's going to be okay.
It's not that bad.
You know, like then you're more willing to take the risk and like kick up further and whatnot. So until that really happens, I just advise you put some mats down, and we have a bunch of mats at our gym that we would stack up for people, and in case you do take a tumble forward. Also try to like teach you how to tuck your chin and roll. Like tumbling is a good skill to learn. Otherwise, have a spotter, have somebody like at least able to catch your legs just in case you kick up too far.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and always like if you can, always work with a coach, because I mean, even the last 3 people who I've seen, I've given like one piece of advice to, and then they ended up doing 10 times better. So like for example, Parker was going way too wide with his hands. I go, hey, just bring your hands in closer. And then guess what? He handstand walked a lot further. And with Jen, she was kicking up like too far forward. Like her hands were coming down way too far away from her feet.
Yeah, it's sort of diving into it.
They're kind of diving rather than tipping. So I was like, hey, start with your hands closer to your feet when you kick up. And then that helped her a lot. And then last night, Amy wasn't getting her feet all the way over, her heels behind her head. And I was like, hey, just get your heels a little bit further forward. And then guess what? She got a lot further. And so it's so funny how like some small things like that go a long way. And you don't want to waste your time doing things the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people this all the time. Like if the more you drill something the wrong way, guess how you're going to do it.
The wrong way.
The wrong
You're
way.
You're practicing feeling.
You're reinforcing bad skills.
Yeah.
You need to reinforce good skills at all times. So that's why it's really important to work with someone or have someone watch you, because they can give you instant feedback and then they can make it click right then and there, rather than you just wasting your 30 minutes of your time just kind of doing nothing pretty much, or making it worse.
Yeah, I mean, going off of that, I mean, having structure when you're doing this is super important. So again, when I was doing this back in the day and teaching myself how to handstand walk, I followed a very regimented program that I kind of made myself, but I would write it down and I would write like, okay, today I did, 30 reps of this. And then tomorrow I'm going to try 30 reps of this one. And there has to be a progression to it, and you have to stick to it. Like I see a lot of people, honestly, just trying the handstand walk over and over and over again. And you're only getting, getting 5 feet. And I'm like, okay, so you're really good at 5 feet. Like you should not be practicing handstands. You should be practicing drills that allow you to be upside down for a longer period of time. Like you're never going to get anywhere by just practicing 5 feet every single, like it's just, you're just treading water basically at that point. And so, I mean, on that note, I talked to you about this earlier. During the week, if I was practicing this skill, and I would practice it every day if I could, right? 7 days a week, I would do skills or drills 6 days, and only 1 day of the week I would actually try to handstand walk, because I knew I couldn't handstand walk. I mean, I could maybe do 5 feet, like I said. So why waste my time practicing that? And instead, I spent all my time doing drills. And guess what? I got better every week when I did go for my handstand walks, because I had the endurance, I had the drills down, and so I would see progress. I say,
They give you confidence too.
exactly. Like you're just getting more frustrated because you're like, man, I'm only stuck at 5 feet, and I've been at 5 feet forever. Well, revert back, go back to the basics, do some drills with longer durations, higher reps, get stronger, and then come back and revisit it again. Right. Practicing the skill over and over again is never going to work.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. I mean, skill development is one of those things that's extremely underrated, and it's one of those things where, like I said earlier, like you can make one small change that will make all the difference.
Yeah.
In terms of actually making it towards that next step.
Yeah.
And it's just it's just that compounding skills over time is what's going to get you there.
Yeah. And people who think like, oh, this is so easy, like the drill, like you might be doing it and you think, God, this is so stupid, like 50 shoulder taps, so dumb. No, if you're not able to do something that is quote unquote so stupid and easy, then you don't deserve to be doing the high advanced stuff. Like you got to earn your way there, and just know we all earned our way there. We all did the drills. It's just we did it 5 years ago. compared to people who are learning it now.
Yeah, exactly. They see kind of the end result and they're like, well, if I want to get to that end result, I need to do the end result. When that's not the case. Like, you didn't see all the time that I spent falling.
Oh my!
You didn't see all the time that I was doing those stupid tower drills and walking laterally and falling off the wall, getting frustrated. I get frustrated too, just like everybody else when I'm learning a new skill. But then once you just got to get over you just got to do a ton of volume up front and get over that initial hump. And then from there, then it gets easier.
Yeah. Check your ego at the door and just know, like, man, I'm not there yet. Like, I have a long way to go, and it's okay. Like, every time I get frustrated with a skill, it reverts back to, I'm just too weak to be doing this. Like, because we're going to talk about this just now, is it's one thing to handstand walk. It's another thing to handstand walk in a workout.
With a high heart rate.
With a high heart rate, with other movements, and your muscle fatigue sets in. Okay, so just understand that all of this is so important, because if your end goal is to handstand walk in a workout, my God, you have to have some endurance on drills first.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, you will not last in a workout. Like, it's not going to work, and you're just going to waste your time. You're not going to get a good workout in. And it's just kind of, you're going to get frustrated. Yeah. That's the bottom line, is you're going to get mad.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, real quick, everyone, thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. So many of you still come up to me and Caitlin and tell us how much you enjoy it and you listen. So we really appreciate that, everyone, because we want to keep making things just like this for you guys. So if you do me a favor and just share it with a friend, so that way we can keep spreading the word and keep making some content for everyone, so that way everyone gets better.
Yep.
So we all win. Let's dig into, do you want to talk about coaching tips and best practices, or you want to go straight into handstand walking and CrossFit workouts?
I think handstand walking and CrossFit workout, because I was kind of leading into that already.
Let's talk about that then. So I mean, obviously you see this in CrossFit competitions. We even do it in our workouts here. So what are your top tips for integrating this into an actual workout now?
When you're first starting out, handstand walking into a workout, I mean, first, obviously we assume you have all the basics at this point, and you put in the time and the drills in order to sustain this. I personally tell people, you need to give yourself a goal and stick to the goal the entire workout. So if you tell yourself, I'm going to do 10 feet every round, maybe the workout is written as, oh, you have to do a 50-foot handstand walk. Okay, well, I can't do 50 feet, but I could do 10 consistently. Okay, then you're going to give yourself that goal of 10. Now, what I see people do all the time is, oh, I kicked up and I felt really good, so I did 30 feet on this round. Okay, great and all, but the goal was 10. And to complete the workout, you should have just stuck to what you knew. And then the next time we do the workout, you go, okay, I'm going to try and get 20 feet around. But that's the thing. People don't like they don't like sticking to what is written and completing the task, checking the box. And next time it comes around, go up a little bit more. It's just like anything else when you're strength training, right? You need to complete the set 5x5 at this weight. Next week, we're going to do 5x5 and you're going to go 5 pounds more. And that is how you progress. And that's how you see the progress. Otherwise, if you're just kind of winging it and constantly going for max distance, are you getting better, or are you just having a good day? There's so many other variables involved, and we can't not track anything.
It's like maxing out a lift every day.
Yes.
It's not, you're going to get nowhere.
You're going to get nowhere. And
you may feel cool, and every once in a while you might find one, but
yeah,
but that doesn't mean that you're actually making true progress. And after watching, well, this is an entire separate podcast, but watching the games athletes train, watching them do their things, it was really interesting to see that you would expect them to be doing something super special or something super unique. And really, even when I saw them lifting, they weren't going max load. They were doing drills. They were working on technique. They were working on being efficient. They weren't maxing out. Even in their workout themselves, they weren't going full effort. They were working on they were doing the team thing, but they were working on their communication. They were working on timing things, how we're gonna move. What our hand signals are gonna be. All those little things. But I mean, that's more for a team thing. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes other than just the movement itself.
Yeah, and everybody needs to have that goal for whatever workout you're doing in mind. And so like Matt was saying, there's stuff that to always be working on. And that's why it's important to have a coach to tell you like, hey, today's workout has handstand walks in it. I know you are trying your handstand walks. Let's set our goal at 10 feet today. And I want you to stay within these lines. Okay. So you cannot, out track of these lines. I know you can do further distance, but you tend to kind of like go too wide and then bad habits settle in. So let's set the parameters at this and be successful here. And then next week we can go a little further. And just having that understanding of progress and tracking progress is going to get you further faster than just winging it.
Yeah, absolutely. There has to be a plan. There has to be something in place that has a step-by-step, like once you do this, you do this.
Yeah.
And then we do this. It's not just blindly just doing it. That's like throwing random workouts together and hoping I get better.
Yeah.
And like we have a progression, we have training cycles, we have progressions through lifts, we have progressions through every other thing that we do. So why not for especially the high skill movements?
Yeah, the gymnastic stuff. And if this is something that interests you, I mean, we have programs designed for handstand walking that, I can pass on to people or honestly, I really advise you to work one-on-one first with a coach to see what level you're at. And then what do you need to work on specifically? Because everybody is different. Following a cookie cutter plan sometimes works. Honestly, if you have enough strength, it will work for you. But if you're lacking strength to begin with, you need a very customized plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So if that's something that interests you, definitely talk to Caitlin or I. We can help you guys out and getting a session booked. So that way, it will save you a lot of time and a lot of headache. Believe me, it took me a long time to learn this skill. So it's a lot easier when you have someone who actually knows what they're doing.
Yeah. And if you want to get this skill done quickly, just know you need to work on it every single day.
Yep, 100% every day. Well, thank you so much for listening. If this was helpful, please leave us a 5-star review so we know to make more content just like this. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Red Wolf CrossFit and DM your content suggestions there. We always need new stuff to talk about on the podcast. Until next time, good luck, have fun.
Nailed it.